The Houston Texans fell just short in their great Week 7 game against the Green Bay Packers, but their reward is they get to have the opportunity to increase their AFC South lead as they host the Indianapolis Colts here in Week 8. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Indianapolis Colts Houston Texans Week 8 matchup, provide predictions for the game at the very end of the video. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. Trying to get to 100 new subscribers for these Week 8 prediction videos. We've been able to hit that goal the past several weeks thanks to all of our new members, and any help is greatly appreciated. So, Ryan, get into this game here. The Texans had a phenomenal game. Well, phenomenal is an interesting way to say it, just because if you look at it statistically, it was not really a great performance by either team. But it's always fun to have like a last-second field goal as well. We know how explosive both of these offenses can be. But I do think it was a good showing, though, I think, on how both defenses on how good both defenses are on this. And I think that was obviously the type of game that was played today. I think statistically the Packers are they're average as of right now, but they've had some pretty weak performances early on. And for the past several weeks, they've had some good performances. Texans, especially with that DeMeco Ryans defense, that's one of the better defenses in the league. Offensively, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I want to throw it over to you here as we're getting near halfway through the season here. A lot of people in the comments were saying that this was a potential Super Bowl preview between these two teams. Do you think that's the case here? And what do you think of both of these teams overall?
Between the Packers and the Texans, you're saying, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say not the Colts and the Texans. The Colts, one.
Yeah, that's not even possible. But
yeah. But two, the Colts are not a Super Bowl team. I think it could be. I mean, the Texans, they look really good. This DeMeco Ryans defense flies to the football. This offense, especially when Nico Collins is on the field, is super explosive. But even then, it's like your wide receiver 2 and 3 are tanked down Stephon Diggs. And then you still have Dalton Schultz and others like there as well. So this is a really, really explosive offense. Joe Mixon has had his career revitalized a little bit this year. So it's been a really good start to the season for the Houston Texans. The Colts are 4-3, and I don't know how, to be completely honest. I think looking at this team, especially like looking at this Dolphins team and how they really struggled today, this Colts defense struggles. The ins and outs of the Colts offense is hard to watch at times. Not in a schematic way. It's just like Anthony Richardson at times is just really hard to follow. Like his decision making at times, while he can make the electric plays, he can also make some really head scratching decisions. And so it's just hard to get in a good rhythm, I think, for the Colts right now on the offensive side of the ball. But all in all, I think this is going to be a good division matchup. This was a great game in Week 1. I expect nothing less here in Week 8. So I am excited for these two teams to kind of square off and go at it in Houston.
Yeah, no, it was fun watching today's game with Dad because Dad is a Colts fan, and he just like, oh my gosh, he's like, what was that? And it's like, great throw, and then the next play is like, who was that to? And I think that's kind of what the Colts are getting. And it's just part of that development because we all can see the physical tools where it's like it's worth, the investment in this thing. And as of right now, it's not really costing them a lot of games because one of the things that's going to be interesting is this offense is top notch. They got a great offensive line. When Jonathan Taylor comes back, he's one of the better backs in the league. You go look at that receiving room now with Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell. You got Alec Pierce as their deep threat guy. They could improve a little bit in the tight end. That'd be something I'm curious about if they focus on in the offseason, but I digress. But defensively, though, like they are not good at all. And that's where I think we saw in that Week 1 matchup where the Texans were able to exploit that a good bit. And the Colts got their licks in as well, too. But it's going to be interesting to see then with Nico Collins not on the field now, how does this Texans team do? I do believe it is going to be a heavy dose of Joe Mixon. It's amazing what it's amazing what a good offensive line can do for a running back and revitalizing his career. So it's going to be a good matchup. It's kind of crazy too, though, to your point. Texans are only one game ahead of the Indianapolis Colts somehow. But if you kind of go look at the Colts season. They beat the Chicago Bears. I think it was it was week 3. Then they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in kind of a shocking game, but they were able to grind it out. And they were able to beat a Tennessee team as well, just barely with Joe Flacco. So who knows? They beat Houston on the road last year, but that was in week 2 when C.J. Stroud hadn't really become C.J. Stroud. It does seem to me, though, and it is absolutely, I mean, it's been a while since I think the Texans have been fully healthy, because when Nico Collins was in, that's when Joe Mixon was out. But now that Joe Mixon is back, Nico Collins is out. I am curious what this this Texans offense would look like fully healthy, because it just seems like there is still a little shakiness overall, just like on their consistency. Today's kind of an outlier of a game, because I think C.J. Stroud had 86 passing yards. He got sacked 4 times for 31 yards. But
yeah,
we see how effective they are running the ball. Joe Mixon, 25 carries for 115 rushing yards. And when you bring Nico Collins back, and he's a great receiver in the league just in general, but you put him up then with Tank Dell and then Stephon Diggs, and they got Dalton Schultz at tight end. They still have some other guys as well, like Xavier Hutchinson, also, who can just kind of help fill in and just provide more targets. What could this offense look like if they can really start to figure things out? And we're not even halfway through the season yet. Still a long time. We saw a lot of teams really start to pick up. Packers is one of them who they played today, where they really picked up their offense overall in the second half of the season. So this Texans offense, I still feel like we haven't seen their full potential yet. And so I know, which is scary. So kind of coming into this game here as well, this Colts team, I think their defense is just too much of a liability. And that was kind of some of the issues that they had in week 1. And for me, I think the Texans offense is absolutely going to have a bounce back. I think Joe Mixon is going to have like 100 carries against this Colts defense. And so I am going to go with the Texans here in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans also. Just Miami, who has one of the worst offenses in the league, I felt like was able to run the ball at times against the Colts defense. And again, they have one of the worst offenses in the league. And I think the Texans, who are actually going to be able to spread out this defense even more and can actually have a potent running attack right now, I think it's going to be a very good rushing game for Joe Mixon. And I think that's just going to be too much for the Colts. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap this one up here. We are both taking the Texans in this AFC South matchup. Go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Indianapolis Colts? Will it be the Houston Texans? And other than that, we'll see you guys.